Hey everybody, welcome to another recorded learning module. This one's focusing on Chrome tools to support diverse learners. The focus of today's session is reading tools. So I'm glad you're here. This is me. If you haven't watched any of the other sessions yet, hello, this is your first interaction. It's good to see you, good to meet you. Virtually and asynchronously, but good to meet you. My name is Mike Marotta. I am an assistive technology specialist or inclusive technology evangelist, whatever I feel the urge to call myself there at the time. And I work with teams and individuals to help implement assistive technology. As you watch through these, including this reading webinar, take some time. And I encourage you, if something grabs you while you're watching it, this is a recording, so stop the recording. Pause it for a second. Go out and explore, then come back. I will keep being here. I will be there in the same exact spot you left me in. So definitely do that to go and explore a little, because I'm going to show you a bunch of tools. And one of them might really grab you as something you might need for a student. So I want you to go out and check it out as we go. As you finish this, either this webinar or any of the other ones that I've recorded. And if you have questions or comments or thoughts, or you're trying to figure out how to implement some of this or how to make it kind of fit into the educational plan of a student you work with, reach out. There's my email address. It's mike@mmatp.com. My website is there, mmatp.com. My Twitter handle is @mmatp. Reach out any way you'd like. I'm happy to have a conversation with you about this, whether it's reading topics or any of the topics we've been talking about. Or quite honestly, I'll talk to you about anything. Reach out. We'll chat about anything. It's fine. But I know sometimes you see a lot of tools and a lot of examples I might give, but it doesn't quite match what you're looking for. So I want you to know that I'm here. Reach out and we can figure out a way to kind of make it make sense for what you're doing in your specific situation. So today, our focus is, again, Chrome reading tools. So that's what we're looking at today. Here's kind of the breakdown of our half hour. We'll be together for about a half hour or so, give or take. I keep saying a half hour, but it's never quite a half hour. It's a little bit more. But I'm going to shoot for a half hour. We'll talk about this concept of supporting everyone using Chrome, looking at the universal design approach to things. We'll touch on that. We'll look at some unique ways we could use tools within the Google Suite to support reading. Then we'll spend some time with apps and extensions, some things we're going to add in to customize the experience, and then I'll give you some suggestions for next steps. Hopefully by that point in the recording you will have thought of some next steps for yourself, so that would be good. So keep that in mind also as you're going through. If something hits you, pause it, write it down for yourself. I'm a big believer, especially in these recorded sessions, I'm a big believer in pausing it to take a minute, write myself a note of something I want to do later, and then continue on with the recording. Get it while it's fresh in your head. So please do that as we're moving through. You can get the slides if you want. You've obviously gotten the recording because you're watching me right now, so that's a good thing. If you want the slides, I know a handful of the slides have links embedded in them. So if you want to get the slides to check out the links and go right to the tools, they are located at the bit.ly that is on the screen right now. It's bit.ly/mmatp-read. That will get you to the slides, so you can click on all the links and go visit and explore all of the resources that I put together. All right, let's dig in a little. So again, if you've watched any of the other ones, you've seen this slide show up already. I'm going to put this slide, I think, in every single webinar. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in every one. Because I want to remind you of this idea of we're kind of in this little bit of a balancing act right now. It's, some of these tools could be considered assistive technology when we use them to meet the unique needs of a certain student. But other ways we can look at this is from more of a universal approach, and think about this from the UDL aspect, and think about how can we use the tools and strategies talked about to apply to the entire situation to meet the needs of all learners, and thinking about ways to provide options. We think about UDL. What is it? It's about options, multiple means of engagement, representation, action, and expression. So as we go through some of these examples that I'll move through in our time together, I would say to you, think about how you could use some of these tools in a UDL kind of mindset as you go to kind of merge these tools into your learning experiences, into your students' educational plan. How are we doing that to provide them with these options that will meet them where they are and provide the support they need in order to move forward and be successful? So that's my quick plug on UDL as we go through it. So we'll start with the G Suite. As I said in the other ones that were related to Chrome, these 30-minute webinars are not meant to be learn everything about Google Docs or learn everything about Google Slides. That's not what the design of this is. But instead, what I want to point out to you is some unique features of the Google Suite tools that we can use creatively to meet the needs of the students we're working with. And so we'll look at that kind of concept right now with the focus on reading, and we'll kind of do a little quick tour through some things that are attached to our Google Suite. So we think about that, and if you watched one of the others, Chrome ones, you saw me mention this already, but if you hadn't, this will be your first time, and then it'll be the second time. Next time you see it, that's okay. Because I think it's looking at these things in different ways. How about using Google Slides and the insert audio feature to create an audiobook? So now we have a support for someone that could have pictures and text linked with audio to provide a student a different level of support. And so that is one of the features of Google Slides now. If you go into the insert menu, audio is one of the choices. And when you insert the audio, it gives you this little button that drops onto the screen. So you see I move my cursor over this little speaker button. And what happens when you open the speaker button is it pops open an audio control. And now I can just simply click the play button.
Hi Mike, and thank you for inviting me to do a summary of the session that I did at TSLD.
So now that's an embedded audio clip. That is 4 minutes of embedded audio in my slide. And all I have to do is move my cursor to it to select that and listen to it. You could do that. You could create audiobooks. You know, we'll probably talk about this in the writing part too. You could easily do this in writing in Google Slides also. A student could create their own presentation, and instead of writing it by typing, they could narrate their story and then drop the audio in. You could create a book, you could create a social story, you could create any number of materials and embed audio directly in it. Share the link with a student, and now the student watches that slide presentation and can click the button to insert the audio. The one thing I want to point about audio in Google Slides right now, the way it's set up right now, you cannot record audio directly into Google Slides. So what that means is you have to record the audio somewhere else, put the audio in your Google Drive, and then link it to the presentation. So there is one extra step there that we need to be aware of. And I gave you a link on the slide there for a Chrome app called the Cloud Audio Recorder for Chrome. And what that does, it brings you to a website. The website basically has a big microphone button on it. You hit the record button and you can just talk to your computer. It will use the built-in microphone to capture your audio. When you're done, it will take that audio file and drop it into your Google Drive. Now you can link to that file. So that file lives in your Google Drive. You go into Slides, click Insert, Audio, and then search in your Drive to find that file and connect it together. So there is one extra step. Hopefully we'll get something soon where you can just hit a button in Google Slides and it will record the audio and just drop it right there. That's ideal. That's what I would like to see. I'm always concerned when there's extra steps in a process. Extra steps mean extra pieces that students have to remember in order to use that feature effectively. So I like to try to keep things somewhat streamlined so it's easy for them to do it. One of the other ones that I wanted to talk about was another add-on Add-ons work in specific tools within the G Suite. So this one is a Google Docs add-on, and it's called Story Speaker. And what happens is you type your story into Google Docs, it converts it to a voice story that can be read, either read aloud from Docs or through a Google Home device. So now what you're doing again is creating audiobooks. And you can do this from anything. I have teachers using this where they're taking text from a website and they're copying and pasting it into Google Docs and then running it through this add-on and in essence creating audiobooks from websites. So maybe it's websites that a student's doing research on. We're seeing that a lot in some of our assignments, is that a student needs to go to a website for research, but they're struggling to read it, and they want to just sit and kind of absorb it and then work from there on the writing aspect of it. And so they're looking for different ways to get students away from the computer screen, but still interacting with text in some way and interacting with their reading materials. So this is one. This is a free tool. The link on the slide will take you to it where you can add it into Google Docs. Google Docs add-ons are very similar to extensions. When we think about Chrome extensions, they show up in our browser alongside the address bar. So as I move my cursor up here, it's all of these little icons that live along the top of my screen. Those are my extensions. A Google Docs add-on is like an extension, but it only works in Docs. And then there are Slides add-ons. They only work in Slides. You only have to install it once because it connects to your account. So if you connect it into Google Docs the first time, it will stay there connected to Google Docs. So you won't have to reconnect it or do something else when you go to another device. It'll always be there. But it's like an extension. So imagine an add-on very similar to an extension. It has returned. If you haven't watched the executive function recorded webinar yet, you've missed the whole detailed explanation of Google Keep. But the 30-second encapsulated version is Google Keep is part of your G Suite. You have access to it. If you've never played with it, it's there waiting for you. Go to keep.google.com and it will show up. It's connected to your Google account. It is a note-taking organization tool, but one of the powerful features when we think about it from the perspective of what we're talking about in this recorded webinar, we're talking about the idea of reading. Well, Google Keep has a function that will allow you to pull text from any picture, and you can use OCR, optical character recognition, to pull the text out of a picture, and it will drop the text into a note. So if you notice the picture on the screen there, it is the back cover of a book. I took a picture of it. I selected in my note, grab image text. In fact, give me a second and we'll just do it right now. I wasn't going to go to it, but I want to show you the buttons so you know where to click them. So imagine, and I don't like showing my own Google Keep because it makes me look incredibly, I don't know, either very organized or completely unorganized. One of the two. I'm not sure yet. But as we go through, I'm actually going to cheat and I'll load in a different one. No, I won't because it's signed out and we don't have time to wait for something like that. So let's find a note that has a picture attached to it. I'm just scrolling through to try to find a note with a picture. Sorry for not having this prepared, and I probably could have done this by pausing, but that's all right. This is part of the fun. So here we go. Here's a note. So imagine I had Google Keep on my phone. I took a picture of the back cover of a book. When I went back to my computer, the picture of the back of the book showed up in a note. There it is. There's my picture of the book. When you're in Google Keep on your computer, if you click the three dots on the toolbar, one of your options is called Grab Image Text. And when you click that Grab Image Text, underneath the picture shows up all of the text from the back of the book or from the text that you put in there. Now, it's not always 100%. And again, depending on the source document, it's going to have a harder time figuring out what it was, especially if it's kind of, look, my picture was a little messed up at the bottom. Some of the fonts were kind of stylized, and that gets a little tricky too. But if it's just basic text, that comes across pretty easy. Now I have text. I can read that with text-to-speech. I can copy and paste that into something else. So now I have the text from that picture, and I didn't have to do anything else with it except put it into Google Keep. So that will allow you to do that in Keep. So again, take a picture of it, go to your computer, click the 3 buttons, click Grab Image Text, and it pulls the text out of the picture for you. So when we think about that, some of the things I would say to you is to dig a little deeper into with the Google Suite. Don't forget, if you're on a Chromebook, that there's that built-in text-to-speech, right? So you have that ability to use the built-in. If you haven't seen that yet, go back to the webinar recording that talks about maximizing your Chromebook, because we go into the built-in accessibility features on that one. But you have text-to-speech, especially if you use Google Keep. If you pull the text out of a picture and then highlight it with the text-to-speech, now it's reading it out loud and you're ready to go. You have total access to the material. Think about using something like the audio feature in Google Slides or any other features in Google Slides to create digital books. It's a slide presentation. This slide presentation I'm showing you now is in essence a digital book that I'm just scrolling through as we go. Can you embed things in there that maximize learning? Can you put audio clips in there? Can you embed video? The answer is yes to all these, by the way. But can you do that in order to engage your student and bring them deeper into the reading experience? And then one other thing that I look at for a reading support or a different way to present information, look at Google Sites. Google Sites will allow you to create your own website that lives in your Google Drive, but you can put anything on there. You could put reading material on there. You could put digital books on there, slide presentations, audio, video, anything you want, and you can organize it in a way that it makes sense for the student as they go forward in order to absorb and take in all that information. So there's a couple ways to dig a little deeper into the Google Suite so that you can find some supports for reading. But we'll dig into probably the bigger part of our time together right now is apps and extensions to support reading. There are a ton. That's the technical term, a ton. But before we do that, make sure we stop for a second. Remember, you don't need them all. Go back to your set framework. What is it the student needs? Figure out the student, their needs and abilities, the environments they're working in. If you think about our lives as they have changed with regards to education with this virtual experience for us, the environment has changed dramatically. And how can we make sure that we are providing tech supports that assist our students in reading at this point? So the tasks, what are the tasks they need to accomplish? And then finally the tools. I like saying finally the tools, right? It's not like first the tools and then everything else. No, we work towards the tools at the end. Again, we don't need to get everything. So let's look at some of these. We'll kind of take a little bit of a progression from simple to more complex, from more straightforward to more feature-rich as we go through. So that'll be a little bit of the process we'll look at here. This first one is called Mercury Reader, and that is simply an extension that strips out all of the visually distracting information on a web page. So if you look at the two pictures on the screen, the top picture is the web page as it exists. Think about any web page that exists for a magazine, a newspaper, or a news site. Their websites are visually distracting, visually cluttered, and very difficult to navigate if you're struggling to focus on the reading task at hand. If I struggle to read and there are 14 different videos I can watch on a page, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm probably going to watch a video or two. If there's links to go somewhere else, I might click on some of those links. If there's pictures, I might go visit them. So there's a lot of stuff that happens on websites that is visually distracting. But Mercury Reader, with the click of a button, strips all that out and provides you with the view that is on the bottom, which is basically just the text of the article. And now that I have that text, I can do anything I want with that. I can print that out. I can save it as a PDF. I can read it with some of my text-to-speech tools, whatever you need to do as you move forward, because now you have the materials. I use that a lot. I use Mercury Reader a lot to take web pages that I feel are going to be too cluttered for someone and save them as a PDF that is very streamlined. And then I share the PDFs with the students through a Google Drive and allow them to access it that way. So they don't need to be on a website. What they need is the article from that website. And then it helps kind of facilitate the lesson completion because they're basically reading through several static documents as opposed to a live hyperlinked document on a website, which could take them all over the place. So just another way to look at it. I know we're talking about Chrome now, but when you use Mercury Reader, you can also export this out, and then you could open it up on something like an iPad. You can open it up in the Books app on an iPad and read it there. So you don't even need to be connected to the internet in order to access some of this information. As we make our way from simpler to more complex, another extension, this one is a Chrome extension, that I use quite a bit is called Announcify. This is a text-to-speech tool. It has only a couple features. It is free. It has just a couple features, but they are a little different from other things, and it might make it valuable for someone as a reading tool. So here we are, basic web page, pictures, text, some embedded links, and some videos. If I click the Announcify icon on the screen, what it's going to do is convert this page that's going to look very similar.
You're now listening to the Richard West Assistive.
Right, just looking at it, it looks very similar to Mercury Reader, where it's kind of stripped out a lot of the other information and left me with just the text and some of the pictures as I go through. But I want you to watch as it reads out loud. Watch what happens to the text on the screen.
Listening to the Richard West Assistive Technology Advocacy Center, ATAC, Assistive Technology Act in New Jersey. The Richard West Assistive Technology Advocacy Center, ATAC, of Disability.
We won't go through the whole thing, but look what it did. We're familiar with the idea of tools highlighting text as it reads. So typically it is a word-by-word highlight that follows the speech, or maybe the sentence is one color and a word is a second color. We see that with the dual color highlighting. This one's a little different in that it doesn't use highlighting, but what it does is it blurs everything else on the page except for the text being read at that point. And I'm not saying it's better or worse, I'm just saying it's different. And that's the kind of different feature that we might need to look for in a tool. I have a student I worked with last school year who was a senior in high school who did not want to use text-to-speech because he didn't like highlighting. He didn't like the highlighting on the page. And he felt like it made it look obvious that he was using something else to read. And we talked about turning the highlight off, and it would always somehow manage to get turned back on, and he would say, I don't want to use it. And I showed him this one, and he loved this because it not only didn't highlight, he had said to me, if you look at the page real fast from another screen, it doesn't really look that different. And he liked the idea that everything else on the page was gone, except for where he was focused on, which was that paragraph. So for him, this was a perfect fit. Again, it's about being open to the features of these tools and seeing how they are different from each other. But that's a great example of Announcify and how that is a different type of text-to-speech tool. Here's another one, Beeline Reader, which basically takes the text of your page and color codes it. If you notice, it's changed the text. If you look again on the picture on the top right, is the standard website. The picture on the bottom left is using Beeline Reader. This is an extension also. And what it does is it goes through the website and it colors the lines so that each line is a color transition to the next line. You think about lines of text on a screen, and what happens a lot of times, students get lost in the text because it's dense. Maybe the line spacing is troublesome for them. They have a difficulty visually navigating it as they go through. What Beeline Reader does is, you'll notice on the picture, the first line starts in black and works its way to blue. The second line starts blue and works its way to black. The third line starts black and works its way to red. And then the fourth line starts at red and works its way to black. So it just constantly transitions visually with color. That's all Beeline Reader does. It's not a text reader. You can use it with a text reader to read it aloud, but that is about changing the visual representation of the text on the screen. Again, if that's what you need, that's the feature that you're looking for, is that visual representation of text. And how can I modify that? You'll notice that that's also modified in that the font has been changed. The font on the regular page, on the current, the page that was out there on the web, is like an Arial, probably an Arial font. It looks like something like that. It's a pretty straightforward font, but on the Beeline Reader, I had it set to the dyslexic font. And so now I changed the weight of the letters as I visually scan them to read. So it's just, again, different. Another choice, another option. One of the newer Chrome extensions that I've been playing with a lot, tons of features actually, is one called Helper Bird. And this is a Chrome extension. It has a free and a pay version, so I broke down the menus for you so you get kind of a sense of what it would do. In the free version, you can change the font and you can zoom in, you can adjust the colors, you can do some translate. You can also do, if you look at the very bottom of that far left menu, you can also do Immersive Reader. If you haven't played with Immersive Reader yet from Microsoft, there's another webinar recording that I did, which was just the Microsoft tools. Immersive Reader is very powerful in that it allows you to change the visual representation of text while providing you text-to-speech, while also giving you some support for the syllables of word, the parts of speech, picture dictionary support. Lots of choices there. And that's a free tool from Microsoft. But what's powerful about it is that it lives on the internet and it can be embedded in other tools, so that Helperbird has taken it and embedded it into their support. As you see on the middle menu is the premium options. The middle and the right side are the premium options, where you can take a picture of the screen and read it. You can put in colored overlays. You can change images. There's a line ruler guide, so you can just block out everything except for the line. You do some contrast and some colors and some assistance with what they call cognitive load. So there's a lot of options there as a support. That is one of those Chrome extensions that has a monthly subscription. I believe you can buy it for the year. I'm pretty sure you can. You can purchase it for a whole year, but it is a subscription-based tool. So just know. But if the free features work for you, you know what they always say, free is for me. Free is good. So if that's the features you need, then great. Stick with those. The next two are what I would call our true assistive technology Chrome extensions for reading and writing. You'll see them here. I'll talk about them again in the writing webinar as well, because they have features for both. Snap and Read from Don Johnston and Read and Write from TextHelp. Both of them provide significant supports for reading. So you see, and I'll go to a website and I'll turn on Snap and Read. And Snap and Read, when I turn it on, will drop a toolbar on the right hand side of the window and gives you the features you need for text-to-speech, as well as what they're looking at as their screenshot reader. So imagine if a page is not accessible, a PDF or things like that, an electronic book. Some electronic books are not accessible. You can draw a line. So if I click the screenshot, it gives me the ability to draw a line. And then when I let it go, it just simply reads It scans through, does the OCR, and then reads. I know, I feel like it's stuck now. It's doing something. Come on. Here it comes.
The Richard West Assistive Technology Advocacy Center, ATAC.
Okay, so now it's scanned through and read that. There's a traditional text-to-speech feature where it'll just read through the page. There is a feature that allows you to simplify the vocabulary on a page. So if you see words that are more difficult, this word was federally funded, and it flipped to given money by the federal government. Let's see what some of the other... The word was assistive, and it flipped it to helping. So it provides some additional level of support. You also saw some translation in there as well. So there is a translation feature to help you as you navigate through with your reading support. So a nice set of options on there for reading, both in Snap and Read and Read and Write. I mean, they both have very similar reading features. The ability to read for text-to-speech, a screenshot or a snapshot reader. You have that support. Both of them come with a picture dictionary. So if you're struggling with a specific word, you can get a picture representation of that word and a definition. You can have translation features on both. So they do very similar features. And a lot of times people will say, well, which one is better? And that's like a trick question. And the answer to that is always, it depends. Depends on which one works best for your student, which feature set kind of resonates with them best. You may have to try both. I've been in schools that have been all read and write, and there'll be a few students that doesn't work for, and they'll have to go to something like Snap and Read. I've been just the opposite. I've been in Snap and Read schools where everybody has access to it, but some students need the functionality of read and write. So we go back and forth. One of the powerful features of read and write from TextHelp here is that they will give teachers a free version of this. So you can get the premium version as a teacher by going to the link on that page there as you visit their website. So you would install the extension. It gives you a 30-day trial. During that 30 days, click on that link and fill out a form, and they will activate it for the year for you to use. Not for your student, but for you as an evaluation type tool to see if that's something that might work for your students. I know a lot of programs were doing free access during distance learning, kind of with the pandemic, but I'm not sure when you're watching this, those programs might be over already. I'm going to guess they probably are. So that might not be happening still, but those were options we could look at as a trial. Snap and Read has a very short trial you can use, and TextHelp gives you the 30-day trial that you can try, so you can explore them and see the different features in each and see which one works best for your student as you go forward. I mentioned Immersive Reader. There is the ability to use Immersive Reader in Chrome. And so you can load the extension. The extension is called Use Immersive Reader on Websites. Unofficial. That part is key, that unofficial in brackets there. That tells me that someone made a Chrome extension. Well, that doesn't tell me. The people from Microsoft told people that someone took the code for Immersive Reader and created a Chrome extension out of it. But if Microsoft goes and updates that code, this extension might not work right away. It might need some time before it gets fixed. But Immersive Reader, the Chrome extension, here I am back on a website, highlight some text, right click on it, and then one of your options says help me read this. And when I click help me read this, it converts that text to the Immersive Reader settings, which gives me the ability to listen.
The Richard West Assistive Technology Advocacy Center, ATAC, of Disability Rights New...
Okay, so there you go. There's your text. It can be read aloud. I have some ability to customize the speed and the voice, whether it's male or female. I can go to any part of this. I don't even know if any of this is going to have... I was looking for a picture. There you go. So I click on a word, and the picture dictionary pops up. It's disability as a person in a wheelchair. I can listen to it out loud, listen to the word being spoken.
Disability.
I can listen. I have it set to translate to French right now, so I could listen.
Disability.
I could listen to it in French as well. So that's the ability to see those single words. I have some ability to customize the preferences for text, both the size and the font spacing, the line spacing, the different font. I can have color themes. Maybe I needed a different color to support my reading. Perhaps I need that. These grammar options are some of the settings that I don't know of many other tools. I can't think of a single tool that does this, where I can have words broken up into syllables so I can see them, see how the word is broken up. Let me turn that off so it doesn't get too visually cluttered. And then I can also turn on parts of speech with certain colors to help my students navigate through a reading passage. Search for all the verbs. Here's some help. Right? As it goes through and reads them, now all my verbs are in red. My adjectives are in green. My nouns are in purple. I probably wouldn't turn them all on, but you could if you wanted to. So that idea of being able to visualize the parts of speech as someone goes through. I told you about the line focus on another tool. Here's line focus here. I can turn that on or off, the picture dictionary. And then I have the translate, which I had mentioned before. You can do by word, or I can do the entire document. So now I have two versions of this document now. I have the original version, and I have the French version. Here's the original text, and then if I click French, here's the French of that same paragraph. So that's all built in as an option for looking at translation. These are all the Immersive Reader features, but now they are in the Chrome browser. So any web page I go to in the Chrome browser, I can access that Immersive Reader support in order to help read that. So that is a pretty cool extension. That's officially an app smash. They took two things that don't really live together, which is Microsoft and Chrome, and someone smashed them together, and that's pretty great. So that's a nice one to have, and a powerful set of supports for someone for reading. As you go forward, I know we're coming to the end of our time together. As you go forward and you want to dig deeper into extensions, maybe look at some other apps and extensions, I would encourage you to get the slides and click on this picture right here. It will take you to the app wheel that was created from Call Scotland, pulled it together into different areas. If you, when you get the wheel, it comes out as a single page PDF that'll load onto your screen. The yellow ring is all the different areas of support. So reading support, vocabulary support, all that kind of stuff is in the yellow ring. And then the purple kind of pie-shaped piece that goes out from there shows you some examples of apps and extensions you can try. So if you're not sure where to start for an area of need, this might be a good starting point. Is it going to have everything? No, probably not. But it's a great starting point to start thinking about the supports that are out there, help you narrow down the tools that you might need for a student because you're focusing on the features of what they might need in order to accomplish their task. So as we come to an end, what are you going to do? Hopefully you were writing some notes as we went through. Hopefully something grabbed you that you will look at later on. Here's some things I could think of to help you move forward. Always take a minute to reflect, and maybe when you're done, if you haven't done it during the webinar, take a second and kind of think about how you could use this information going forward. Think about options for adding different layers of support. Think about that UDL, those UDL principles that we talked about. Can I provide different levels of support for reading? Can I provide audio support or video support or picture support? Think about how I can merge those supports together to create a bit of an immersive reading experience for a student, regardless of their needs and abilities. Give them options to move through something. I always start with the free. Look at the free. It always goes this way for me. Built-in features, free tools, pay tools. Don't start with pay. Start with what's built into your computer. Then move to free tools and see how those can support you until you need more features. Then you go forward and you purchase another tool. So kind of think about that progression as you move forward. And you'll do a nice job of not cluttering the student's account with bunches of tools they might not ever use. So that tends to be a good way to look at it. So as you go forward, I hope this helped. Please keep in mind that I'm here to help. If you have a question, feel free to reach out. Ask anything. There's my email address, mike@mmatp.com, my website, mmatp.com, my Twitter handle, @mmatp. I'm in all those places, and you can certainly reach out. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you on one of the other webinars. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you for watching this webinar. For more information on the ATP Education Program, please visit our website at atp.nebraska.gov or email us at atp.education@nebraska.gov.